Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited today. We have a special guest, a veteran in the game. Been doing it, this isn't his...
You can tell by all the gray in my beard, right? Wow.
Yeah. 18 years in the game, actually family-owned business with Memphis Invest, which is awesome. It's right when I found that out, I was like, wow, what a shocking statement right there, just because they're so big nationwide to get your turnkey rentals. And it just shows like a little bit of the magnification of what this guy has done here. Some other stats that I saw was that at just 23 years old, you actually built up a grocery store manufacturer or distribution center up to 80 million.
Yeah, 23, we built it to 80 million. By the time I was 27, it was 800 million. By the time I was 30, we were doing 1.8 billion.
Oh my God. Just thinking about that, I have no idea even how to comprehend that, of the systems in place and just the mindset to be able to think bigger, right? Which is so much right there. But you actually have another stat that I was pretty shocked by, was your education platform. You have over 55,000 students.
Correct.
This is worldwide. That's obviously, leaving a pretty damn big impact on each person's family, and just, the compound that does is pretty magnificent. So overall, you have over 100 units in your portfolio, rental properties, and then you and your family manage about 5,400 properties in about...
Actually, a little over 7,500 now.
7,500 in what, 7 states or so?
It's 9 markets now. I think getting ready to be 10. So we've had to update our name. We can't call ourselves Memphis Invest anymore. So now we call ourselves REI Nation, because it just continues to grow.
I love it. So anybody out there that doesn't know a little bit about your background or who you are, do you mind just diving in a little bit more on who you are, where you come from, and how the hell you got here?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm based here in San Diego. As you said, been doing this for a long time. I've been in the real estate game, probably known most for teaching, as you pointed out, tens of thousands of people how to go and wholesale properties, very specifically using a strategy that I developed a long time ago called reverse wholesaling, which is very, very straightforward, where we basically start with the end in mind, go out, and most people don't realize that over 30% of the transactions being done in real estate today are being done by real estate investors who are paying all cash, which is a startling statistic, because when you just kind of extrapolate that and understand the math a little bit, that's basically about 170,000 transactions a month. Somewhere in the country, somebody is writing a check for a property. And so when you take that information and understand pretty quickly that that those cash buyers have a voracious appetite, and they come in all shapes and sizes. You have institutional buyers all the way down to moms and pops that are trying to buy rentals. You quickly understand that there's a massive, massive opportunity if you're good at just a few things. One, nurturing relationships with people and being able to effectively understand what they're looking for. And then 2, on the flip side of it, taking those same skill sets and they're using different marketing channels, creating opportunities. Go out there and create deals where, some were never, people didn't realize deals could be had. Going off and marketing to people that are in some level of distress, which comes in all shapes and sizes, but, never takes a day off, whether that is divorce, foreclosure, bankruptcy, loss of job, loss of income, you name it. There's just so many ways people get kind of behind the 8 ball, and being able to effectively get those properties under contract, help somebody out of a situation, and quickly flip your interest in those contracts to those cash buyers that are just waiting. That has all the makings of a real business. And so I'm really proud, as you kind of pointed out, that we've helped tens of thousands of people over the years to kind of get into this and not only build an income, but build a business, build a life, build a lifestyle. While we're doing that, we're kind of a product of our own teachings. We have, a business that still flips 800 properties a year and almost 10 markets and manages 7,500 properties. And so we've got a lot going on, but we're
So you're telling me you're not just a guru out there just teaching it, right? You're actually doing it as well.
You got it. We're very proud of our family business there that does a lot of deals every single day.
Love it. So, you mentioned nurturing people, right? Like nurturing people at first. How are you getting to that point originally? Like, I'm sure over the 18 years, you guys have done all the different channels of getting your leads to come in. But what is the specific lead generation that, stands out to you that brings in the most income?
The two biggest places where you can create an enormous amount of lead flow is certainly through referrals.
Yep.
When you'd be surprised that when you understand exactly what your buyers want and you understand exactly how much money they have to spend on the properties. So if I've got a buyer that's telling me they want to buy 5 properties from me in the next 30 days, all cash, up to $500,000, well, clearly they have $2.5 million to spend. And if I've got 10 of those buyers in my back pocket, well, clearly I have $25 million that I need to spend in the next 30 days. You'd be shocked at how much attention you can get when you go to your referral network, other wholesalers, other investors, and other agents, and let them know very loud and proud that I have $25 million burning a hole in my pocket right now. And this is exactly what I want in the exact neighborhoods I want it to be in at this exact price, detail. You can get a referral network to bring you an enormous amount of product. I mean, if you think about it, the biggest financial institutions in the world that are all operating inside of the real estate space now, either through directly as a hedge fund or by ultimately being the financing of some of the biggest hedge funds and buyers out there, they don't have inventory problems. I mean, clearly they would like to buy more than they're buying. Who doesn't? But at the end of the day, when you look up and these companies are buying hundreds, if not thousands of properties every single month, what are they doing that a lot of people aren't? Well, they're selling the money. They're playing into people's greed. They understand clearly that there's not an investor in the market or an agent in the market that would not love to get a phone call saying, I have $25 million to spend in the next 30 days. Help me.
Yeah.
And so they play into that emotion very, very well. And there's nothing that prevents any of us from doing the exact same thing. It starts with understanding what our buyers want and how much they have to spend. But once you have that information, that is an extremely powerful tool to create off-market opportunities. Equally, through direct seller channels, direct mail still is by far, not even close, the best lead source out there. Generates more deals than probably anything else in the market today, as well as a lot of the other new technologies, PPC, and I shouldn't say new technology, but technology platforms, whether that be PPC or text marketing, are both extremely powerful. And last but not least, cold calling. It is the brutal way to do it, but it is still very, very effective.
Yeah, I mean, that's what all the bigger hedge funds that are really doing. The agents, they're reaching out and doing the cold calling to see,
Correct.
Try to get those deals coming in. And it really depends market-wise because each market's different. There's going to be certain areas that have, PPC or direct mail that can be more lucrative than others. But
100%.
Oh, yeah. And it's kind of funny how in certain, I guess just how time evolves, there are certain cycles that come in when everybody's doing direct mail marketing or everybody's doing
here's the big difference. Here's the big difference. If I lined up 100 people in the room that were doing direct mail or 100 people that were doing PPC or texting or any kind of direct marketing, 95 of them would be doing it poorly.
Sure. Always.
And that's the difference, right? So most people do not look at marketing as anything but let me just sling it up against the wall and see what sticks. That's their idea of marketing, right? Versus
done that in the past.
versus a very, very intentional KPI driven, hold on, let me just make sure this is alternative, KPI driven marketing campaign, key performance indicators, where you clearly understand the math. And so you're playing the long game. The key to being really good at marketing is being able to pay more for your customer than your competitor. Yep. And in order to pay more for your customer, you have to understand the customer's value. You literally have to understand exactly what the lifetime value of a customer is, how many touch points it's going to take, everything up and down the scale. You have to understand that. And 95 out of 100 don't. So when you see the people that are elite at the game, they're willing to go much deeper into the process and spend much more money over the long haul to acquire the customer because they know in the end they will outspend you and just run you into the ground. They know you'll give up. If you go toe-to-toe with a guy like me in a market, I'll just outspend you because I understand the math so well. I mean, I will just keep going deeper into the customer because I know exactly what the lifetime value of that customer is. I know exactly how many transactions over a 5-year period I can expect to do with them. I know what the revenue on each one of those transactions will project it to be. I'm willing to go deeper where most people say, well, I spent $2,000 on direct mail and I didn't do a single deal, so this must not work.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately,
I'm actually guilty of this. And I truly believe it is the main reason why I haven't scaled my real estate business as fast as I could have is because the lacking in KPIs.
Well, and the key is, we find psychologically as people that are in business, new entrepreneurs, because they don't understand the math, because they don't understand the process, because they don't have the foundational learning in place, what they don't understand that they're doing to themselves is setting themselves up for failure, right? And so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I spent $2,000 on marketing. I didn't do a deal. This must not work. Yeah. Or it must be too competitive, or I must be in the wrong market, or any of the other must have. When the reality of it is that if you're well prepared, well coached, and well educated, you come into a market and you understand that, look, you can't expect to do a deal for anything less than $3,000 in marketing. The average deal is going to take 45 days. And, average direct mail campaign, you're going to get your best responses between the 5th and 6th touch. That only 1 out of 25 people that you talk to are going to be willing to sell their house to you on that first phone call. The other 24 is going to require an average of 13 months in follow-up. If you don't understand all that, then this can be a pretty brutal business. But if you get all that knowledge and you're well prepared and you understand what's going on and you're not willing to give up on your dream, then you play for the long haul, then I can guarantee you it is not a matter of if you will win. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen.
Yeah. And those numbers, for example, like those are, $3,000 in marketing, bare minimum. That's if you are staying consistent. If you're messing up anything without the right guidance or education, then yeah, of course, it could look more closer to 5 or 10,000, right?
I mean, it'd be the equivalent of me spending, $3,000 to go get my pilot's license. And after I take, four lessons of 40, me thinking, well, you know what, I don't really see the value in this yet, so I'm out of this. And so unfortunately, that's, if you go into a situation and know, hey, I'm going to have to take 40 lessons, I'm going to have to take 1,000 hours, I'm going to have to do X, Y, or Z. The expectation's just clearly been set. And so you understand what's in it for you to keep moving. Most people that come into this business, it's not unique to our business, it's unique to most businesses. They just kind of approach this with that kind of lottery winner mentality. I think I'm going to scratch off the ticket and suddenly I'm going to be a millionaire. And that is not the way business works.
So good. So, Ken, I wanted to talk about some learning curves for a second before we dive into getting a little bit more creative strategies of what you think about the future with the market and everything that we're in. But as far as learning curves, like you starting over today, or maybe even teaching your kids or somebody that wants to actually follow the same footsteps as you potentially, what would you have either recommended or wish that you would have done differently?
Well, I don't know that I would phrase it as differently. I think that today's time, as in just about every area of our life, technology has changed the game. And it's changed the game dramatically, right? So the learning curve to get involved in this, in real estate investing, and I don't even know that I would call wholesaling in particular real estate investing, but it's a way in the door, right? Getting in this game right now and being successful has never been easier than it is right now. When I started in this business, there was no real, I took a course, but it wasn't a course that I would, knowing what I know now, versus what I knew then, I would never recommend it. I took a course, I was desperate, I was hungry, I was beat up, I was beat down. I'd lost a big business. I was, was kind of a shell of myself. I didn't have a lot of confidence at the time. And so I was in the perfect headspace to make something happen. Even with mediocre information, I was willing to do the work and do what was necessary to make it happen. Today, you can be well below average and you have access to amazing information out there, right? For instance, we've poured millions of dollars just into our wholesaling course. Millions of dollars. I mean, who does that, right? And millions of dollars into our software. So you've got guys like me, and they're scattered all over the country, who have invested so much into bringing the industry forward. So you can get college level education for pennies on the dollar. You can get access to systems that do all of the heavy lifting for you. When I got in the business, there was no way of understanding who all of the cash buyers were in a market or who all the motivated sellers. I mean, none of that stuff exists. I mean, I know because we invented most of it. Where now you can log in right from your phone, your laptop, your whatever you want to do, and instantly in any market, by the way, know exactly who all of the best cash buyers are, exactly what they're paying, what's their name, what's their email, what's their phone number, who's in foreclosure, got a property that they own free and clear, expired listings, tax defaults, divorce, bankrupt. All of this information has now been cleaned up and is now presented to people in a way that makes connecting the dots easier than it's ever been. So knowing where we are in this place and time, it's always fascinating to me how people complain about how tough this business is. This business has never been easier than right now. You literally can get all your leads, all your marketing, and all your education for probably less than $500 and spend a few bucks actually applying the information, right? Get the marketing out the door, follow scripts, it's just so done for you at this point. If you have even an ounce of drive and ambition, this is an amazing time to be in. So what would I do? That's exactly what I would do. I would go as fast as I possibly could. I would make strategic investments in these technology platforms that make things easier for me and get the results faster.
I love it. That's so good. So when we met at Cole's house about a month or so ago, you were doing a presentation and you were talking about, the COVID, where we're at right now and where the housing market looks like it's going to be in the near future, right? And interest rates being as low as possible. And then just creative strategies of what investors should really start looking towards more coming up.
Right.
And a lot of that was, seller financing or owner carryback. But, would you like to kind of just explain a little bit more in detail about that stuff? A lot of it was very capturing, and I know the audience would really benefit from a lot of that.
Sure. So I'm going to guess that, a lot of people that are watching this maybe have never been through this cycle, but let me, let me kind of give everybody the cliff notes about what is going to happen, because it will 100% happen, right? Real estate cycles have run since the beginning of America, and they've tracked them, certainly for the last 100 years. The cycles run from anywhere to about 12 to 14 years, peak to valley, peak to valley. And we are about a year over right now, right? So we're basically at about year 15. So it is not a matter of if this is coming, it is just a matter of when, and it's going to come, sooner rather than later. What that means is that at some point, the real estate market is going to correct at some level, and that will happen through a function of interest rates moving up. It could be a variety of things. But right now, the market is white hot in a lot of different places, right? Who would have thought this time last year that would be the case? But that's exactly where we are. It's because of interest rates being low and shortage in housing inventory being where it is. My biggest, the cautionary tale here to everybody that's watching that is in real estate, let me just help you understand, you're nowhere near as good as you think you are. Anybody could be good in this market. And so if you're crushing it, just get a really good reality check that you're probably not crushing it because you're that great. You're probably crushing it because the market is really hot. And get yourself prepared to where you can be crushing it when the market corrects, because it is going to happen at some point. I don't have a crystal ball and I can't tell you when. I can just tell you statistically, when you should anticipate it. With that being said, there are some really cool things that are happening in the market that I think everybody should definitely take note of. And one of them that nobody is talking about is the simple fact that while Fannie Mae is predicting that the market will stay flat, if not go up just a little bit this year, 1%, the housing market, they are going to originate $1.4 trillion less this year in loans than they did in 2020. So in 2020, they did $4.1 trillion in origination. This year, it's going to be 2.7. So $1.4 trillion is getting yanked out of the market. And anybody that is
staggering difference right there. That's
a shocking number, right? So they're effectively going to do almost 30% less this year. And so, Kent, what does that mean? Well, a couple of things. They're doing that right now as we speak. If you watch Fannie at all, you see that investor loans, they're yanking back hard on the reins right there. They don't want to do those. If you see that any loans for self-employed entrepreneurs, they're yanking back hard on that, making it extremely, extremely challenging to get those loans.
Yeah.
So it isn't like they're making some big announcement. They're making an announcement behind the scenes, but they're not going to make a public-facing announcement saying, hey, we're going to yank $1.4 trillion. This was released in their annual report in December. What they are going to do is just going to make it really, really challenging for people to get loans. And by virtue of doing that, they're deterring the loans, which means they will originate $1.4 trillion less. So again, why does that matter? Well, because if the market is going to stay here, but the lending is going to go like this, you have this huge yield in between that represents a massive opportunity. And the opportunity will come in ways of getting very creative on acquisition strategies and very creative on sales strategies. In particular, seller participation when you're acquiring properties. So if you're, again, guys like us and potentially you were going to go use a bank to acquire a property, you cannot do that now. But what you can do is get yourself educated on how to put together deals where the seller participates, where the seller's providing financing for you, and understand exactly how those deals are structured, exactly what the vocabulary is that's used, exactly how the negotiations are done. I was just with a really good friend of mine a few days ago who was trying to buy a $3 million property. He came into my office right here and was talking to me about it. He had 300 to 600 grand to put down on it, but getting the bank financing was going to prove next to impossible. And so, I worked with him on the strategy to go directly to the seller and have, he'd never even heard of it, never even thought of it. Sure enough, just signed a deal where he's putting 300 grand down and the seller is doing a $2.7 million loan for him at 5% interest, 30-year AM with a 10-year balloon. Great financing terms, right?
Yeah.
Never had to walk into a bank and got the whole deal done. This happens every day. It is shocking. When you understand how to acquire properties like that, you will be a big, big winner, because imagine walking into a deal and saying, I'll pay you exactly what you want for this deal.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on my terms.
Sure.
And I'm going to put X amount of dollars down. I'm going to pay out the rest over X period at X rate. And those deals are when you can come in and your competitors don't know how to do that, but you do, you win.
Yeah.
And equally, on the other side of that, you can acquire properties and sell properties with seller financing where your buyers cannot get financed because of the same problem with Fannie. That is just how you get extremely wealthy. When you can put a deal in place where you have acquired it, and I'm just going to use very round numbers, right? This can happen anywhere in the United States, but when you acquire a property for $50,000, and let me just back up and say this. The example I'm going to give you, we're literally doing this 30, 40, 50 times a month.
Sure.
So before anybody says, yeah, my market's different, let me help you.
Yeah.
Your market's not different, right? This is happening right now. I did a live event, had a handful of people in the room teaching them this strategy, and everybody in the room walked in with that general attitude that my market's different, until we pulled up deals in their market and actually did a deep dive and showed them where, oh my God, it's 100% possible. So, I caution you on approaching the business that way, because that's how you get left behind. But, we can acquire a property, let's just call it for $50,000, and go in and maybe I acquire it on terms, however I do it. Let's just say I paid cash, right? So I acquired for $50,000, and then I turn around and, without touching the property, by the way, go and put it out on the MLS with terms at $99,000. As is seller financing, I can charge a premium because I'm providing the financing, right? It would probably normally sell on the market for probably $80,000, $85,000. I'm charging $99,000 because I'm the bank.
Yeah.
My buyer comes in, has put 10% down. Let's just call it 10 grand. So now I'm really into the deal for 40. Call it 45 after closing cost. So I'm in a deal at 45. I'm charging, depending on the borrower, let's just call it 9% interest, right? Up to 9% interest to remain Dodd-Frank compliant. I'm in it at 45. I'm financing 90 at 9% interest. So it's not only my 45, but it's also the spread on the other 45, right? So now that's an 18% return I've just created. And oh, by the way, it's for 30 years.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, all of the risk in those deals gets shifted to the borrower. Typically I would take that deal down and I would turn them into a rental property, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But the payment on that deal is $774 a month. I might be able to rent it for $750.
The headaches with renting and so forth.
I have the taxes, I have the insurance, I have the maintenance, I get the calls. None of that happens now?
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah.
They're the buyer. They own the property. They get all the risk. We just become the bank. There's a reason why the banks are the most profitable organizations in the world, because they've figured out exactly what I'm sharing right now a long time ago.
Oh yeah, no, of course. And I think that's the power behind it. Really start thinking outside the box of what the banks, start thinking as if you were the bank, right? And figuring out the same exact strategies and the plays that they're doing to create their money, right? We can do the same exact stuff. So I want to know your feedback here, or your opinion on basically the statistics for the buyer side, because a lot of buyers, I forget what the numbers are, but a lot of buyers don't actually follow through with these arrangements in some cases, right? Sometimes they fall out and you get the property back, and then you can repeat this process, right?
Correct. That's it. You're the bank. What happens if you don't pay your mortgage right now?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing happens in this scenario. If you don't pay their mortgage, they're going to foreclose, they're going to come get the property, and then they're going to go sell it.
Yeah.
Or they're going to do the exact same thing. This is no different. If your buyer does not, and it's not your buyer now turns into the borrower, right? So they were a buyer, now they're your borrower. I would argue you own a much better asset than the actual physical property for a variety of reasons. If you get the property back, then that's great. Now go create the asset all over again, be in the note.
Is there a reason though why you think that the foreclosure rate with this type of scenario is a little bit higher than, I guess, the regular type of mortgages or traditional type of real estate transactions?
I've actually never seen any data that supports that, quite frankly. And I've been doing it a long time. I've never seen any, it could be a misconception. I've never seen any data that suggests that the foreclosure process or these properties, these notes that go into foreclosure is significantly higher than what would happen in a normal process. Keep in mind, you still have to work with an RMLO. So you're working with a third-party processor and a third-party servicer. And so that third-party processor is making sure that you're completely Dodd-Frank compliant. They are underwriting the loan. You cannot go and write a mortgage to somebody who cannot afford to pay.
Sure.
Right? You cannot be predatory. So third-party organizations take you through that process, take the borrower through that process to clearly make sure that they are qualified. And if indeed they are qualified and they are somebody that can afford to pay the mortgage, then we get the approval and we put them in the home. If not, then we don't. And it's the same process that a bank goes through. Sure. So, prior to Dodd-Frank, that might have been the case, but I think since Dodd-Frank, that's probably not the case.
Yeah, that's good. So when it comes down to the processes or the legal terms, right, the contracts in place, are you using a fresh lawyer every time, or you just have a template that kind of plug and play for each scenario?
No, we have our standardized contracts for sure. We run it like a business. So the process is that we are going in and we're sending our acquisitions team in to effectively, all they're there to do is if they cannot buy the property for cash, they are there to put an option agreement in place. Okay. And all that's doing is basically tying up the property for 14 days to give us the opportunity, the breathing room to figure out exactly what is the best scenario for where we can make an offer with seller participation. That way there's no pressure to try to do that right there at the desk or at the kitchen table, I should say. Yeah. And so with that breathing room, we get our offer prepared correctly, exactly what we want. We talk to the seller, and if we get a deal put together, we fire over the paperwork. Then the process begins where we start, once that's signed, and we start handing off, and that's on the seller side. That's when we're acquiring the property, right? The same thing on the other side. When the buyer's coming in, they want to purchase, they sign the contract, they put their money in escrow, and we in turn make the introduction to the RMLO. They're going to go through, fill out their applications, do all that kind of good stuff, and that entire process gets going, pushed over to title. Again, no different if they were borrowing money from a bank.
Yeah, that's good. So you mentioned price versus terms. This is something that I feel like not enough people actually acknowledge, and they leave too many deals off the table. If the price doesn't work out and you got your seller over the phone saying, no, I want this amount, which is overpriced, and they just have no concept of what it's truly valued at, then a lot of people just walk away from the deal, right? Instead of getting the creative side of thinking like a bank and offering them that amount, right?
Yeah, I think it's bigger than that. I would argue that 99% of the population, and I've been very guilty of this in the past, have no idea of, how basic economics work. They don't understand the way money really works. They don't a great video to go watch on YouTube is Ray Dalio, How the Machine Works.
Yeah.
Kind of explains the economy, right? If you don't understand the basics, then you are destined to always be a consumer, and you will never be the entrepreneur. You'll never be the investor because you're just a victim. You're just a part of the mechanism. You don't understand how to put yourself in a position to really do it. I think you got to have the basics of understanding really the way money works, the way the wealthy think about money. And I'm not talking at a conceptual level. I'm talking about like you truly understand. When you tell somebody today about, like, I'll make a comment, and I guarantee you that people, when I say it, it'll go over the heads of a lot of people. I don't mean that derogatory. I just know it to be true, is that your money right now is the most valuable it will ever be today.
Oh, yeah.
Because your dollar is going down in value every single day moving forward. And if you don't believe that, just think for a moment. Imagine if you were walking into, Walmart or Target or whatever 5 years ago, and I told you to go fill up the cart with $100 worth of groceries. Think about how much more you could have gotten in your cart 5 years ago versus how much you can get today. And why is that? Well, it's very simple. Your dollar is worth much less today than it was 5 years ago. And the same is always true. So with that being said, you have to think about that when you're going in and paying cash for a house, you're buying it in today's dollars. When I'm going in and doing a creative deal, I'm buying it with dollars for the next 30 years.
Sure.
And so I'm getting a better deal every single day that goes on. Now, the person selling me that deal doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
They don't understand that basic concept right there. But if I can walk in the door and effectively tell somebody, hey, you want to sell your house for $100,000? I want to pay all cash $70,000. You give me 14 days, I'll figure out how to get you your price at $100,000. Come back and say, here's the way we're going to do this. I'm going to give you, $10,000 down. And then I'm going to give you 180 payments of $500. That's it. We good? And what they don't understand, what just happened there, and that one thing, is they just, in almost every case, they're like, sure, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Thank you. I got my price. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. And it might be $20,000 down, whatever it is, but I'm just using round math. What they just agreed to in that one sentence was, I'm giving you $10,000 right now, and I'm going to give you the remaining balance, $90,000, over 180 payments at $500 each, which is the equivalent of 0% interest.
Yeah.
That's what you just did.
Yeah.
You just gave me a 15-year note at 0% interest, and you think you won. And so now I get to collect rent on that property at $750 a month, $800 a month, or put another person on the back end of it in a seller finance note on the other end, where I go up and now sell this $100,000 house for $140,000, have them put 10% down, go finance $126,000 for them at 8% interest. And I'm getting the yield all the way around. And I'm effectively, if you remember, all I did was put $10,000 down. The moment my seller puts 14 down, I'm in it for zero. In fact, I'm in it for -4, -$4,000, and I'm getting an 8% yield for 18 months. That's how the rich get very rich. They understand the way money really works. And if you don't, then I can assure you, not only are you behind from wealth creation, but you're behind in when it comes to putting together, creative deal structure. Walking into a deal and it being black or white, either I can pay cash at this price or I can't. You're our dinosaur. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you believe that your dollar is going to be stronger tomorrow, you're definitely misguided right there. You can definitely just check it out on the U.S. National Debt Clock online, and you can see how much.
Yeah. I would invite everybody to just go do, and you can go find these calculators online.
Yeah.
But just go and do yourself a favor and understand the impact on your wealth of uninterrupted compounding interest. passive, uninterrupted compounding interest, what that actually does to your wealth. And when you can set up a 30-year note where somebody is paying, when you're getting, like the example I gave earlier, 18% return on your money for 30 years, you'll be shocked at what that actually turns into.
Oh, yeah.
It's a staggering number.
So Ken, are you getting a lot of these deals locked in at the 0% interest? Because you still need to...
the interest rate, quite frankly, is completely irrelevant.
Really?
It does happen, but I don't even care because... Fine. You want me to pay more in interest? Cool. Well, I'm just going to drag out the term, right? No problem. Because I understand the math so well, it doesn't really matter to me what you want to do. All right, so you want me to pay you 5% interest? Cool. You win. Instead of it being 360 payments, we're going to do it at 400 payments, and I'm going to win. Or the other direction, 360 to 320. Well, I'm constantly, there's a great app to go download out there. It is, let me see if I can bring it. It is called 10BII, which is a crazy name for an app, but it's an old Texas Instruments calculator, right? It's a financial calculator.
Oh, yeah.
So a 10BII was what that calculator was called. But if you go look it up, it's red and white. It looks like this. Let me see if I can get it up here. That right there. Yeah. When you understand how to plug those 4 numbers across the top there, you become unstoppable. You can put any deal together you ever want to put together because you're talking at levels that very, very few people can ever even comprehend.
I love it. So I actually just almost struggled with getting this deal locked in, so I haven't been able to do it yet. Right around the corner here in Old Town, we picked up a property, and then the neighbor has been actually thinking about selling. They tried selling it a couple months ago. They didn't get the number that they wanted. It fell out of contract. They couldn't perform. So I liked your presentation at Kohl's. So I was like, let me see if I can get creative here and, structure this a little bit better. And I did a balloon payment within 3 years, monthly payments and $10K down. And then they realized that they were just getting attached to the property. I offered them what they wanted for the property because they had investors come in. The only value play is adding an ADU, but that takes time, as we all know, which holding costs can add up. So long story short, how do you get over, that's probably just more sales strategies, right? To be able to get people out of that, falling in love with their project or their property, right? Like that's their home. They wanted to move on to another place, but they have a family and they want something to come back to now. That's their excuse in case they don't like their other place.
Well, there's a big difference between somebody that needs to sell and somebody that wants to sell. And that's the
motivation
reason.
Level.
Yeah, it's all about motivation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that, especially in a market like this, there's a lot of people that suddenly they're seeing numbers that they haven't seen in years. And it's interesting. One of the most interesting comments, the easiest way I know to set somebody up in a really positive way where they're ready to receive the information is that, ask them, hey, when you sell this property, what are you going to do with the money?
Yep.
What are you going to go put it in?
Yep.
What are you going to, how are you going to get a return on your investment? Because a lot of people, when they come into a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, they have no idea what they're going to do with that money.
At all.
And when you figure out, in the context of that question, when you figure out that they don't have a plan, there's your opportunity right there. Well, good. Hey, you know what? I got a pretty cool place to invest it. How about we just put it right back into this property?
Yeah.
Let me talk to you about, a deal that we can potentially put together. I'll put X amount down. We'll structure a deal on a 30-year AM. We'll create a 5-10-year balloon. Gives you time to think about it. But while it's happening, you're earning 5, 6, 7% on your money, which you weren't going to do anyway. And by the way, this is all cash to you. By the way, if you sell the house to me all cash right now, you're going to have income tax challenges, right? And you just said you don't know what to do with the money. Well, let me solve both of those problems for you, right? When you recognize this particular type of a sell, it would be on an installment basis, right? So you don't have to pay taxes all at the same time, but you don't have any of the burden of the taxes, the insurance, the maintenance, nothing else. I take all that off you. So what I pay, if I'm paying you $10,000 a month, you're taking home $10,000, right? Everything else is on me. And so there's you got to get them to open up to the idea of that. If that's not even really on their radar or they're not already trying to kind of in that headspace,
sure.
They're kind of just kicking the tires, then it's not impossible. It's just a little more challenging.
Yeah. You really have to be like an artist here and really paint the picture for them so that they can see all their opportunities right in front of them.
They're just uneducated. Yeah. And I don't mean that. Exactly. I don't mean it in quite
not
frankly,
a derogatory sense.
Yeah, I'm not saying that derogatory. Quite frankly, most people, 99 out of 100 don't even know what you're talking about when it comes to seller financing. but this has been around for hundreds of years. This is one of the oldest transactions out there. This is the way transactions are in a lot of places. This is like the way transactions are done, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so this is, there's a skill to it and there's an art to it. Understand, getting really good at the math with that calculator and understanding the way things work, getting yourself educated, is really, really important, because if you can get it done, man, quite frankly, the next 2 years are going to be some of the biggest wealth creation you'll ever see. Because people that, I'm on a mission to try to do 1,000 of these notes in the next 2 years. And if I do that, to put it in perspective, based on all of our performance, it will create for me personally hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of wealth over the next 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's a staggering number. If somebody's looking to not just create income and they're looking to create generational wealth, it'd be really hard pressed to find something that's better than this. Because again, it all comes back to uninterrupted, compounding, passive interest. This is that. And this is a really, really interesting time to be able to get into it and be really effective at it.
That's so good. So what do you think about the market currently and where we are really stepping into? I know you don't have that crystal ball, but you've been around the block for a day or two, and I'm sure you have some predictions or maybe some assumptions of when potentially something could happen. And with everything,
I think in the market is probably going to run into some hiccups sometime in the next couple of years, 12 to 24 months. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you. I just know, looking at statistical data, some of the smartest people in the world who look at the cycles are all, I'm just echoing exactly what the information says, right?
Sure.
So I think that's around the corner. I think if you're a wholesaler, it's irrelevant, right? It's completely irrelevant, because when the market slows down and people are struggling to get their homes sold and there's tons of distress in the market, the cash buyers will flood in, right? It won't be 30% of the market then, it'll be 50, 60% of the market. They will all come in. And when they do that, that's a wholesaler's best friend. I mean, that's amazing opportunity to align yourself with cash buyers and put that machine in place that's just feeding them properties, right? If you're really good at marketing, you won't lose in any market, up or down. If you're a mediocre marketer, then you're going to suffer. And if you're not marketing at all, hang it up, get out of the game, because you're already done. You just don't know it. And then, with that being said, the same is true of what we were talking about on the seller finance side. I mean, good market, bad market, certainly that has a lot more to do with the lending industry than anything else. It's kind of created an opportunity. That opportunity exists regardless, but it's just creating a big vacuum, massive vacuum of opportunity. And so I think if you're smart, you are educating yourself right now on how to get into seller financing quickly. I think if you're a wholesaler, you are aligning yourself with cash buyers very, very quickly for all the reasons I pointed out earlier. I think if you are, in the business at all, and then you're treating it like a business, you are sharpening your marketing skills, because if you're good at this, on the retail side, if you're an agent, that's a different animal, right? It's a pretty sensitive area, up or down. You play in the spaces that we play in, up, down, sideways, doesn't really matter. There's always opportunity.
That's good. Yeah. And at the end of the day, with everything going more virtual right now, are you guys pushing your education more? At the end of the day, that's going to help out more people, I assume.
We never stop. We run these companies completely separately. So, we're on a mission inside of the education industry, and our philosophy is pretty straightforward, and maybe rub some people wrong, but it's just what I believe. That I had a mentor tell me a long time ago that, Kent, if you don't get in here and tell people and show people what you're doing and how you're doing it, then they have no opportunity to learn from the best, and they're going to be learning from people that are mediocre at this.
Yeah.
And I've never forgot those words. And so we're very, very diligent in trying to get our education and our software and our trainings and our events and whatever in the hands of as many people as we possibly can, because I know the impact it creates. I know the ripple effect it creates with, as you pointed out earlier, families and extended families. And I know what that does, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, and I know if I don't do it, and I know if we don't push and keep it at the forefront, then quite frankly, they're going to learn from somebody that, just isn't as good as we are, and is not going to necessarily give them what they need to be really, really successful. We're going to put them through some pain that's unnecessary. So yeah, we're pretty diligent about keep pushing.
I love it. So how can people get a hold of you or the education content?
Well, I mean, I'm easy to find. Social media, it's at Kent Clothier, Kent Clothier, right? And then on Facebook, on Instagram, happy to help anybody. If anybody wants to know, on the seller finance side, I mean, we're doing these virtual and live trainings on the regular, and it's the name of that event is what's called, we call it the Real Wealth Initiative. So it's RWIevent.com. Feel free to go there, and if it's something that suits you, cool. If not, no worries. And then on the wholesaling side, we have our find and flip challenges that come up once a month, and we take people for 5 days and just kind of get down in the weeds with them 1 hour a day and show them exactly how to start a wholesaling business. So we're happy to help anywhere and everywhere we can on the education. And then, like you said earlier, REI Nation, if you want to just invest passively.
I love it, Ken. Well, brother, I appreciate your time so much. You're a great deal of knowledge, and I know all the listeners really soaked up a lot of this. So, guys, if you're tuning into this, I know this is just a small sneak peek here. Definitely want to reach out to Ken and jump into the content that he has. It's unbelievable, and just blessed to have him on here to be able to give the knowledge to you guys. But with that being said, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button so you get the newest notification every single Monday for the new episode. And after you listen to a couple episodes, then do me a favor, leave a review. Let us know how you guys feel about it. And if you guys need any credit repair done for you services, then reach out to us on creditrepairmobile.com. Otherwise, if you're looking to get educated on credit and really be able to learn how to fix your own credit, build up credit 6 figures plus with personal and business, and learn how to leverage it into real estate investing like we have, then what you're going to want to do is check out creditcounselelite.com. But until next time, Kent, you're the man. I appreciate you, brother.
You got it, brother. Take care.
Stay blessed.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.